the Holberton Low Bridge. The operator lifted it up for us, so we had to radio ahead, and he was right there. It's a roaming operator, so it's actually the same person that's going to be lifting up the next bridge for us, which is about 3 miles down the canal in Holley, and that's going to be our stop, terminal stop for today. The typical, that's what the canal looks like typically between Albion and Holley. It's pretty straight. Both banks are very well defined by the boulders, the rocks. Sometimes it's a wall, sometimes they're just piled up there. On this stretch of the canal, we see the towpath on the port side, not on the starboard side, but more often than not, the towpath would be on both sides of the canal. Originally it would have been used by the mules who were towing the barges up and down the canal. Today, it's a great way to travel along the canal. If you're using a bicycle or a scooter or just taking a jog, and so we see quite a few people. Well, not right here; it's pretty rural. But once we start coming up on a town, you can see that a lot of people are using towpaths for recreational purposes. On a map. It's a beautiful location. We're the only boat here so far. We docked at about 4 o'clock. So the docking, the wall on the south side of the canal, east of the floodgate, is really phenomenal. There's showers and bathrooms, and we're right in the middle of a beautiful park. And 5 minutes away from the wall, you can hike to a gorgeous waterfall. So follow a little forest trail, and at the bottom of it you'll end up seeing the waterfall that we do behind us. Absolutely wonderful. Short hike, gorgeous scenery. It's early Monday morning. We're leaving Spencerport, heading to Fairport today. We spent the night in Spencerport, and it's a great town to just stay in to spend some time in. It has ample opportunities for provisioning. There is Tops a couple of 100 yards away from the canal, and it's a very good Tops too. So we got our fresh fruits and vegetables yesterday. It also has lots of place to eat, and everything is very close to the canal, so you don't have to hike to find your pizza or your Chinese food or a pub. Yesterday we were a little bit apprehensive about the strong winds that were forecasted. Coast Guard was sending warnings that it was supposed to be gusting about 30 miles an hour, and the winds were really dangerous, so we were glad to be off of the water in the afternoon because it would not have been safe to travel. And there were actually quite a few boats in Spencerport. For the past week we barely saw anybody on the canal, but yesterday in Spencerport there were about 10 boats. A lot of rental boats that you can get to cruise up and down the canal, a couple of big yachts finishing the loop going home, and even a couple of sailboats with their masts down. So we're about an hour and a half out of Spencerport, and we're approaching the Rochester area, and this is where the canal starts looking quite different because we're entering the stretch that's called the Rock Cut, where the most extensive excavation took place. So they literally cut through the rock, leaving the rock walls exposed. So behind me, that's a good example where you can see geological layers. It's very pretty. Sometimes you see the water trickling down and all kinds of mosses and vegetation starting to grow. The banks are quite tall, so we're in the shade right now because, well, most of the time, because the trees are shading us. Now we're approaching the Rochester area where the canal gets a bit more industrial. We're going to see a lot of bridges, a lot of traffic running up and down the canal, but the Rock Cut is a very pretty stretch. So we're in Henrietta. We're in lock number 33. We're going to be going down in a minute. The lock master is already closing the lock gates. I'm holding on to one of the dock lines so that the boat doesn't drift. Essentially, one person has to grab the line on the stern side of the boat and the other on the bow. So